I want to look at just a few of the people that are mentioned in Jesus' genealogy. And we're going to start in verse 2 here with what is called the Patriarchs: Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Now, what we're going to do in this video in the next few is we're just going to look at those people, remind ourselves of the story, and ask ourselves, how does that story bear any significance to the story of Jesus? In other words, why is Matthew mentioning those people? And remember, he mentioned some and didn't mention others. Why is he choosing to mention those people? And what does that mean for us? Now, Abraham. Abraham is the father of the people of Israel. He is the big patriarch. And the story goes that God made him a promise. God chose Abraham for no really apparent reason, and he made him a promise in Genesis 15. He says to him, "You will have a big family." And if we look at the list of names that Matthew presents in the next verses, we'll see that has already come to pass. And secondly, he tells Abraham that through your family, the whole world or every nation will be blessed. So something will happen to your family as a result of which the whole world will be blessed. And what does that mean for Jesus? Well, it does mean that Jesus is precisely the fulfillment of this promise that Abraham's family will do something that will bless the nations. In dying for the sins of the world, not just for the sins of Israel, Jesus made a way for the Israelites and the Gentiles, for every tribe and every nation to be united before God and find access to him. So that is the Abrahamic promise. Isaac here is really famous for one story, and that is the one where God was asking Abraham to sacrifice him. So Isaac is a reminder of the idea of sacrifice. Now, please remember the story correctly. When Abraham was asked to sacrifice Isaac, Isaac was about 30 years old. A lot of people, when they think of the story, think that Isaac was some child and Abraham was about to kill him there. No, Abraham was asked to sacrifice Isaac, and Isaac, of course, wasn't really happy about it, but he willingly agreed to obey his father, who felt that he was obeying God. And then, of course, God in the end said, "Hold on, Abraham." He held back his arm on which the knife was already mounted, and he provides a ram instead. And so that sacrifice story of Isaac, of course, features into the story that Matthew is going to tell about Jesus, as in Jesus becoming the sacrifice for the whole world, for every nation, every tongue, and every tribe. And let's just quickly look at Jacob as well. Now, Jacob has gotten a nickname, and his nickname is Israel. Now, the story of the Israelites is precisely called the story of the Israelites because of this nickname that Jacob had received. This nickname means to wrestle with God, and it goes back to the story in which Jacob was fleeing from his brother Esau, and he was camping out somewhere, and that night God came and wrestled with him. And Jacob said to God, "I won't let you go until you bless me." And God hits him in the hip, and Jacob carried a injury. He was limping ever since that moment, but he was wrestling with God, and that is an idea that we also find in Jesus. If you think of Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, and he was praying, and blood and sweat was dropping from his forehead, you see that this idea of wrestling with God, wrestling in prayer, is one that was very much happening in Jesus' life. And it is possibly a wake-up call for us as Christians. If Jacob, the wrestler with God, from whom the whole nation of Israel got the identity from, if that is something that prominently featured even in Jesus' life, I think we must remind ourselves that this is also part of the Christian walk, to prayerfully wrestle with God.